Welcome back, fellow From fans. This is Rob, and like last week, we're going to jump right into it. Theories and clues, no episode recaps, no nonsense. But before I get really started, we know spoilers are starting to float around out there, and we are avoiding them like a monster without a talisman. We ask that you don't leave comments with any spoiling info, confirmations of any theories that we make during the video, or any that are made in the comments by others if you know what's true and what's not. Please only reference officially released episodes, trailers, and images. Thanks. Alright, so this season as a whole, but especially these last few episodes, we've gotten nothing but a sense of dread and hopelessness. Each episode is showing the townsfolk breaking a little more, and that facade of a functioning town has all but collapsed. Honestly, it's starting to look like a lot more what we would expect to see given the situation they're in. However, one of the biggest transformations, hands down, has to be Fatima. She went from someone who was a constantly positive influence in the town to an unaliver. The new Sarah, if you will. Also, we can finally put the theory to bed that Tilly is a mole. Now, after the ultrasound, it does look like she's not pregnant in the traditional sense, but clearly something is happening to her. We do believe her physical transformations are actually happening, and they are not just a hallucination, despite it potentially being hinted at by the bottles of antipsychotic drugs Ellis was trying to swipe. However, Chris and I are still not fully convinced she's transforming into a monster, although it is always a possibility, but it does seem clear her body is being hijacked by some kind of supernatural force in town. And with her seemingly having a link to the kimono woman, whose motives are suspect at best, she seems like a good candidate. It's also worth mentioning for those of you who like to dive deeper into the set clues like we do, that the book on Fatima's bedside table was Fall on Your Knees by Anne Marie MacDonald from 1996, which is a story of inescapable family bonds, terrible secrets, and a lot of miracles that happens to span over 4 different generations. It covers a lot of themes and subject matter, so take a look for yourself if you want to jump down that rabbit hole. But what happens next for Fatima? What does Tilly mean by run? Because this attack looks like an intentional unaliving, and not a monster attack. If Fatima and or Ellis just go missing, it'll put a target on their backs, putting Ellis in a terrible spot, just like Boyd and Abby. Let's jump to what is probably the other biggest question that we were introduced to this episode. What in the world is going on with Elgin and the root cellar? The automatic Polaroid appears to us to be a current photo of the entrance to the cellar, so whatever is manipulating the camera wants to lead Elgin there now. Chris and I also believe this is more of the kimono woman's doing. She's not as powerful as the town itself, so she's using a method that she can. The camera itself may have belonged to her, similar to Jasper and the personal items that Victor collected of the other townspeople. However, once he's there, let's address the elephant in the deceased body in the room. That person was there on purpose. Otherwise, the cabinet so deliberately blocking the bright red door would not have been so covered. Elgin has clearly put together at least one piece of the puzzle that a lot of us watching have not yet. He asked the kimono woman, "Is this really where it happens?" which is implying that he knows what has to occur to help her as she asked about. Is this another case of how Sarah was manipulated into doing something terrible because of the promise of how it could help the town? Is he going to have to lock someone in that room himself to feed the kimono woman, who already seems to potentially be draining Fatima along the way like we mentioned? Now, unfortunately, not much happened with Victor and Jasper in this episode other than the very beginning, but this could mean that the reveal could be finale worthy. We do see Victor, however, growing frustrated as he's trying to interrogate Jasper, and it's probably going to take someone other than Victor to get the reaction he's looking for. We still feel Jade is the best candidate because of his obvious parallels to Christopher, but it could be something more simple. Maybe going down into Sarah's basement, underground where scary things exist, will trigger a reaction, since it was in a basement where Victor first saw Jasper speaking. If the creepy doll is our key to start getting answers though, even me, with my deep fear of dolls, will embrace him. Elsewhere around the town, our new audience surrogate, Officer Acosta, has come out guns blazing. Or at least would like to, if Boyd would give her gun. But we do appreciate the time to address the fact that Kenny talks about everyone already asking these questions and having these theories. One theory that we have not heard anyone in the show say before, though, was from Jade, trying to piece together the information of what Tabitha saw in her childhood dreams at the settlement. He mentions maybe Aristotle had it wrong about fate and determinism. Everyone could have been destined to come to this town from the day they were born, regardless of how their life unfolded. This could very heavily lean into a lot of the theories and thoughts about this being a repeating cycle and everyone playing a specific part in the system that has to occur. Which begs the last question, and topic I will touch on, and that's the three who were affected by the town: Marielle, Randell, and Julie. Randell is clearly still seeing the bugs, even when teaching Julie to drive. Julie has talked about her continued frustration of hearing the after effects as well. And Marielle mentions to Fatima that she can still feel the bugs crawling in her skin, maybe very similarly to Boyd's worm experience. She could even be using the antipsychotics that Ellis attempted to take to keep her experience at bay. Is the calling of the arches to Julie and Randell because they are still yet to fulfill their role in this cycle by returning to the arches? We may not know, just yet. But one impression that I, Rob, am getting is that while we may not quite get the answers in this episode or the next, it seems like a lot of the questions we're asking about all of the different mysteries are going to start overlapping sooner than later. So Frumley, just bear with the show the way we are, as we may start seeing how it all ties together, even if we don't get all of the answers just yet as to who, why, or how. So that is where we will call it on episode 7, but we cannot wait for the last few episodes of season 3. I'll be leaving you in the more than capable hands of Chris for the next couple of weeks, as I am going to be away getting married and celebrating. But I'll be back to cover the season finale with him, but as usual, we want to hear your thoughts, and if you have a topic I didn't cover, drop it in the comments so we can discuss later. And if you like what we're doing, let us and the algorithm know by liking and subscribing. It helps out the channel, and we really appreciate it. So until next time, stay sleuthy.